Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 667 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. And looks like it's going to be an okay day here at the Beaver Lodge. I can see the sun trying to make an effort through the clouds, but it's a pretty cloudy day as well. So intermittent sunshine, let's put it that way. Expected. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. And yes, I do have the twins just over here on the side as well, but they're a little camera shy today. Let's see. We have an interesting show for you today. Not going to say relatively slow news day. I mean, there were some big things. There was an Auditor General report and all that kind of stuff. But on the whole, pretty slow news day. Nothing really went boom in any way, shape, or form yesterday, which is kind of interesting. So a nice time to take a breath, which is good because the world is gone on fast forward. So a chance to take a pause is never a bad thing. But yeah, we got some stuff for you today. Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
In all honesty, the jury's a little out on that one right now. It's probably pretty good, but I'm so tired. I feel hungover, and I have no right to feel that way.
Yep.
So I'm sure I must have sweat like a demon last night. Restless sleep. I woke up several times from the sertraline dreams that one gets from that medication. Very vivid, very realistic, and I find when you get into a fight in the dream, you tend to actually swing.
Yes.
So I get a workout in my sleep, whether I like it or not.
No wonder you're so slim.
Well, it's probably why I feel so hungover, and even though I have no right to feel hungover, it's because I'm dehydrated.
Right.
That's just
Yeah.
here I am pushing 60, and I can't gain weight.
Right now, there's a bunch of people hating you right now.
I get it. Look, I also have an incredibly restrictive diet due to my food allergies, right? So it's
right.
I can't eat garbage. It's as simple as that.
Right.
I can't. So
yeah. Same for me. It's 2 days in a row, Mr. Grizzly.
Yeah.
I'm just same thing. I haven't had a drop of alcohol in about 3 days easily. I've been going to bed early, because I am healing. I've been, taking it easy, and that's 2 days in a row too. Just waking up dead tired, feeling hungover as well, dehydrated, pasty mouth,
Mm.
like waking up with cotton mouth. Just yeah, just feeling blah. No,
Well,
well, not blah, because it's like, I'm not feeling like feverish or like I got a cold or anything like that, but just like just sluggish. This would be the word.
I'm going to paraphrase a lyric from Soundgarden from their first album, Bad Motorfinger. I believe that was their first major label release. They may have had an EP prior to that, but I'm feeling like Vancouver and looking like Regina.
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
Paraphrasing the lyric, I'm feeling like California and looking like Minnesota. Only it might have been the other way around.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Interesting. Um.
From
So
the song "Outshine" by Soundgarden.
yes.
Great song. That was
So
the song that introduced me to them and made me fall in love with that band immediately.
good stuff. So yeah, just water in the cup this morning. Trying to rehydrate.
It's not water. It's coffee. It's coffee.
Coffee. Cats and cubs. Let's get into it. First of all, Summer once again set a Canadian record in the 200 fly yesterday. It's her favorite event.
Mhm.
Also the event that her mother swam at the 1984 Olympics.
In
So,
Los Angeles.
pardon?
In Los Angeles.
Yes. So another record for Summer. It's just phenomenal
Just
what she's doing.
watch them fall.
Yeah, just watch them fall. Yesterday we were talking about, says, "Oh yeah, there's a record I really wanted that," clicked it off. The other one that she wants is the one in the 200 fly, and everybody's saying that the 200 fly and the 800 free are the two like records that are the toughest to break. There was that time a few years ago when the swimmers from China just popped up out of nowhere. Like
Mhm.
some were setting some really huge records, and
Mhm.
then some of them we never heard of again soon
Yeah.
after. Well, one of those records was the 200 fly, and it was like 2 minutes, 1 second or something like this, and yesterday she got to 2 minutes, 2 seconds and something, so she's closing in on it, and the same thing with the 800 free that she did, the other day. She set a new Canadian record. This and she's, like, really, really, really close. I think it's, like, 801 or something like that in the 801s,
Mhm.
and she just, like, went 802 something. So those are the next 2 that she wants to knock off, and she's talking about them just as casually as she talked about knocking off the one for the for the 200 IM.
I wish life was that simple. I say this as a tongue-in-cheek
Yes.
comment. I wish life was that simple for the rest of us.
It's that simple when you've been doing, like, 5 kilometers of swimming every day of your life, 2 days 2 times a day
Exactly.
like,
She's worked
for
for
12
this.
years or
She's
something.
worked very damn hard for this. She's also a naturally gifted swimming athlete,
Yes.
period. You don't break world records by not having gifts given to you through genetics. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
That's why Michael Phelps won everything.
Yep.
It's like he was designed in a lab to be able to swim because of his arm span, the size of his hands, the size of his feet, the length of his body,
The way
eh,
his
his
joints
lung
worked.
his lung capacity, all
Yep.
of it, all of it.
He was
He was
biomechanically perfectly engineered for swimming.
yes, as a human being,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another person that you might want to hear about, we've been talking a lot about Victoria Mboko, that tennis player, and
Mhm.
it seems that we have another Canadian female tennis player knocking on the door. Her name is Carson Branstein, and she's playing at a grass tournament at Hertogenbosch in the Netherlands. So they're preparing for Wimbledon. The grass season is really, really short. Carson Branstein is ranked 231st in the world
Mhm.
presently. She had to go through qualifiers in order to make this tournament. So she defeated somebody named Julie Niemeyer from Germany, who is ranked 143, so almost 100 spots higher than her in the ranking. And then, in order to get into the tournament, she had to defeat a player from China named Yuan Yu, who's ranked 84th in the world, and she defeated her in straight sets 6-4, 6-4. And for her reward for qualifying was to face the number one player in the draw in the first round.
Yeah,
So guaranteed elimination, right? Because
right.
the number one player in the draw is Ludmila Samsonova, who's ranked 18th in the world.
Well, that should not
18th
drive
in the
me.
world.
On paper, that should, that should
It
be
should,
an
yeah.
easy decision.
The match just finished. Carson Branstein won the first set 6-4, lost the second set 7-5. It got interrupted because of rain. They
Mhm.
started again this morning. Carson Branstein won the last set 6-1. Number 231 in the world just defeated number 18 in the world.
Wow.
Wow. Sometimes it just takes one or two people to get hot
Mhm.
and everybody else follows.
Well,
There you go.
speaking of hot and I'm going to say cold at the same time, did you see the woman who got her ass handed to her by Coco Gauff and all the excuses she made about it?
Oh,
Oh, she's like,
Arena
well, the
Sabalenka
weather
made
played a major factor and this played a major factor. I'm like, yeah, Coco was in the same match as you, bitch. Sorry. That was me being catty. But, a white woman loses to a woman of color and all of a sudden the excuses come out of the woodwork.
Interesting.
I saw her literally and I'm like, oh, bad sport. You got beat by a better player and you can't handle losing to a woman of color. Is that what it is? Because it sure does look. I could be completely wrong.
They are both number one and number two in the world.
Mhm.
Right, the French Open for the first time, I think, since 1984, had the number one versus number two women and number one versus number two men in the final. Arena Sabalenka ran away with the first set.
Mhm.
Well, ran away. She had a big lead, and then stuff like that. But it really looked like she was dominating. She was going to dominate. And Arena Sabalenka, I think, has like 3 Grand Slams, like won the last 3 Grand Slams in a row or something. So I guess she was going in thinking like, this one's just mine.
Mhm.
And Coco Gauff had been having trouble with her serve throughout the tournament. Lots of double faults, but somehow still managing to win matches. But she cleaned it up in this one. And the thing with Coco Gauff as well is that she's sort of Nadal-like in that she's a human backboard.
Mhm.
And she can just run and run and run and run. It's like it's almost impossible to take the legs out from under her. She'll just run and run and run and run and run. She just keeps coming at you and coming at you. So you can like be up 5-1 in a set like this, 40 love, I guess. And she can like come back and like you might just win the set 7-5 or something, right? Like this, like she's never, ever, ever done, ever.
No.
So at some point, she just kept coming at her, and at some point, it's hard to play a perfect match all the way through. So at one point, some of Sabalenka's shots started going long or going wide, and then, Coco Gauff started getting dialed in as she was getting frustrated, and you could see in the match. I mean, she was just the unforced errors just started shooting up. So I mean, Coco Gauff won that match. Like
Oh, yeah.
Sabalenka was on her way to winning it, and Coco Gauff just said, "Nope," and just found another gear and took it away from her. It's that simple. She was, hands down, the better player. That's really all there is to it.
That's how it works out.
Yeah, and it was the same thing with Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. Yannick Sinner, both of them. Alcaraz had won he's been in 4 Grand Slam finals and has won all 4. Yannick Sinner has been in 3 Grand Slam finals, won all 3. So one of them was going to lose for the first time. Yes, and Yannick Sinner won the first 2 sets, and then Carlos Alcaraz, who had never come back from 2 sets down in a 5-set match, did it. Because you don't hear Yannick Sinner, however, saying that kind of stuff.
Mm.
So yeah, different attitudes, I guess. I'm not sure if it's a race thing in this case because Sabalenka does have a bit of a reputation for being a little heated
Mhm.
at times.
Well, again, I'm not saying it is that, but
Yeah.
it sure does look like it.
It doesn't look good.
No.
Let's put it that way. You don't. They both played very well like this, but it was clear that at some point when Coco Gauff kept on coming, she got frustrated and rattled a bit.
Mhm.
I guess, and you could see it if you watch the match. It's very clear. You can see like the turning point when it started happening too, right? So, I mean, there were some like really easy shots. Like there's 3 shots in a row at one point that she missed. And one was like a smash right at the net, and she hit it down so low that it went right into the. I mean, she lost focus. She got rattled. It's just what happened. It's a shame when that happens
Mhm.
because we showed that clip at one point. Remember with Felix Auger-Aliassime and Jack Draper with that weird shot and whatnot like this, and
Yes.
they were arguing a little bit like this, and that was a match where Felix Auger-Aliassime could have like at the end, has said a whole bunch of stuff and excuses,
And he
and even
didn't.
though in the moment he was upset and whatnot like this, no excuses. Sometimes the bounce just doesn't go your way.
Yeah, that's the game.
And Yannick Sinner, which was really interesting, is that there were 3 calls because the French Open, for some reason, will not use the camera system to judge the lines
Yeah, I
because
don't
there's
know why
clay,
that
the ball
is.
bounces and leaves a mark, so they're still doing it the old way. There were 3 calls that went against Sinner. Shots that he shot, that he hit, that were in and hit on the line that were called out, or vice versa. Is so he had 3 calls go against him, that could have made it such that he won the match, and no complaints.
Mhm.
So, different people, different hardwiring, different memories, different ways of coping, I guess.
Well, that's it.
But it's
Maturity
sad.
level,
Yeah.
dealing. There's a lot of things at play here. And again, I'm not saying it was, but it looks like it.
It doesn't look good. Yeah. Like I said, I
And
mean,
here's the thing.
nobody likes to lose, right? Especially on a big stage and with such a big prize. I get you, but still.
I'm not saying it, but lots of people are. And the people who are saying it don't look like me. The people who are saying it have been on the receiving end of that type of behavior since birth. So I'm going to defer to people who would know better than me. I'm not saying
Mhm.
it. I'll let somebody else say it because they know better. It's as simple as that. Simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems that, like some of the things she said, I think she won the match not because she just played incredible, just because I made all of those mistakes. If you look from the outside, kind of easy balls. And it's true, Sabalenka made a lot of mistakes. So, I mean, that part is true. She did make, I mean, it's not like Sabalenka didn't help by missing some balls. It seems that Sabalenka did retract some of her comments praising Goff for how she played with poise and purpose afterwards. Um, but yeah, uh, Coco Goff said like she was a little surprised. Said I was a little bit surprised about the comments and everything, but I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure it was an emotional day, an emotional match. I know she was probably a bit emotional after that match, and it was a tough loss. And Goff said went on to call her a fighter and a tough opponent, noting that there was windy conditions during the final and all that kind of stuff. So
She says, Coco won the match not because she played incredible, just because I made all those mistakes.
yeah,
What? And struggling with the conditions. The same conditions that Coco played in?
yeah, yeah. But later on, she said, "Listen, I made over 70 unforced errors, so I can't pretend it was a great day for me. Both things can be true. I didn't play my best, and Coco stepped up and played with poise and purpose."
Mm.
So she, um, like I said, sometimes in the moment, things don't come out right.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I would have been surprised that this was because Sabalenka doesn't have a reputation uh, for that
Right.
specifically, but she does have a reputation for being um, uh, getting mad at herself a lot, and sometimes losing patience, sometimes on the court when it's not going right. There are some players when you're number one in the world, when you're playing a match and you're doing really well, um, you think the rest should just come easy,
Mm.
and
I
you got to
suppose.
work to the final point.
And you have support people around you who will be telling you, you've got this, it's in the bag, it's yours. And
Yeah,
that's not always the case.
yeah. I've been, and it happens all over, right? I remember going to oddly enough a pageant.
Hmm.
This, and there was one person there who had been pumped up all year long, ever since they won their feeder. This
Right.
is your season. It's you. It's your turn. It's time for this region to get it.
You
This
start
region.
making
This
sense.
region hasn't gotten it in 12 years. It's this region's time. It's going to be used like this. And they didn't even make like the top 20.
Mm.
Yes. And they just stormed out of the theater.
Mm.
They didn't stay for the rest. They didn't support the rest of the contestants. There was like no. brotherhood or sisterhood or that feeling there, that you normally you hear
Like,
about for these types of things.
This was mine. It was robbed from me.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't yours. It
It's like,
wasn't yours.
but that's what happens. You get people around you. The people that you have around you, they have to be people that are going to tell you what it is,
Yeah,
and not just
this
what you
isn't
want to hear.
fair. I'm sorry, nothing in life is fair.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh well, interesting.
Moving on, just before
Yes.
we get to the meat and potatoes of today, I have a video clip. It's 21 seconds that just ran across my feed that I thought it was important to share with everybody because when you see this and when you hear what he says, it'd be like, gee, I think those words were said once before, back in the late 20s, early 30s, in another part of the world.
Celebrating big on Saturday. We're going to have a lot of, and if there's any protest that wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. By the way, for those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but this is people that hate our country, but they will be met with very heavy force. Thank you very much, everybody.
Sir, you are not the country.
This is his birthday military parade
Yes.
thing. If you protest, you'll be met with very heavy force. Isn't that a constitutional right in your country?
Yes. It's like, don't embarrass me on my big day.
Yeah, well, I believe that Saturday, June 14th, is known as We Don't Have Kings in America Day.
Mm.
There's actually a protest organized here in Ottawa to be held at the U.S. Embassy, which hopefully won't interfere with our mental health walk, but we'll see.
Mhm.
We'll see what will happen because that is this Saturday.
It is.
Mental health walk.
So I'm really just I don't know what to make of that.
Look, his hero was Adolf Hitler. Always has been. Always has been.
Yeah.
He worships the man.
Yeah.
And who his current living hero is Vladimir Putin. He worships that man. He is there are 1,800 No King's Day rallies on Saturday, according to Jillian.
There you go.
And June 14th is technically Flag Day in the U.S.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Mr. Grizzly, you again, without going too much into Bill C2 because we don't have anything ourselves, but Mr. Grizzly, you found something from Michael Geist, who is someone that a lot of people refer to when it comes to such matters. I take what he says into account, but I also take it with a salt lick because Michael Geist was one of the people that was also saying that, what Trudeau was doing with regard to regulation of the internet or that type of stuff was going to be mass censorship and we were all going to go to jail and stuff like that. So sometimes
he was alarmist, to say the least.
I think his bias is like no regulation of the internet pretty much whatsoever.
Right.
That type of thing. So there might be some grain of salt there, but it's still interesting to hear what it is that he does have to say on this.
Well, for those of you who might not be aware, Michael Geist holds the Canada Research Chair in Internet and E-commerce Law at the University of Ottawa's Faculty of Law. So he wrote this yesterday. I won't read all of it, but I'll read a couple of passages from it. He said, the government's plan for warrantless disclosure of internet subscriber information is rightly attracting increasing attention as sneaking lawful access provisions into a border bill raises significant privacy concerns.
Mm-hmm.
As I pointed out last week, Bill C2's new, in quotations, information demand power, which can be used by a wide range of enforcement agencies over literally any potential offense of any act of parliament, is certain to spark a legal challenge given the Supreme Court of Canada's previous decisions in Spencer and Bickovets. While the government has tried to paint the information at stake as phone book information with little privacy value, the reality is far different. The information demand includes whether the provider provides or has provided services to a particular subscriber or client or to any account or identifier, whether there is a transmission data on hand, who was the person communicating with and what apps were they using, as well as where and when the service was provided. The information demand can also cover when service began, when it ended, and what other communication services are used by the subscriber. The specific content would require a warrant, but all of this data, which can be very revealing, would be available without judicial oversight. Further, providers would be prohibited from disclosing the disclosure for a year and would receive legal immunity if they voluntarily provide the information without even requiring an information demand request. I had somebody say the other day, I heard somebody say the other day, is this Canada's Patriot Act? And I thought, yeah, it might be. The alarm bells are being rung. They are being sounded, and we do need to pay attention. Again, I haven't read the entire bill yet. It's 140 pages, and it's very tedious to read through.
Yes.
Because it's legal speak. It's, you
Yep.
know, it's, you need a lawyer really to parse it out, say, break it down so I can understand this, get all the garbage out of my way. And, you know,
And it's not like reading a legal decision where like you like go right to the end and then like start going up to like see different things afterwards, right? This is every single clause, every paragraph, every comma, every matters, right? When you're drafting legislation. So yes, like I said, hopefully we'll get the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, someone to come on the show and talk about that. But like I said, there's lots of areas in there that will cause people to go,
there's several of them. And there is a privacy lawyer. One second here. What's his name? Privacy lawyer, David Fraser. He has broken down. He says overview of part 14 of Bill C2. So he's got a series right now on his YouTube channel, and I'm starting to watch it so I can get a better idea, so that I can understand it better.
Okay, who is this? David who?
David Fraser, I believe.
Okay.
Somebody, I apologize. I can't remember who sent me the link to have a look at it. It was sent to the True North email, and I checked it out, and I'm like, okay, cool. I will have a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't to the email. It was to the, it was a comment.
Okay.
It was a comment on yesterday's show.
Yeah. It seems that from what I can see, from what I was able to glean from the comments yesterday, that's like sections 14 and 15 in particular of this bill are somewhat really concerning. But there may be other things as well, because it touches on so many different sections.
They had a protest in Montreal over the immigration aspect, so that should give you an idea.
Exactly. So, it's a lot of the things overall. It's like we know we need to do that. Okay, yeah, that sounds good, but what does that look like really? You know, when you dress it up to take it out.
Well, this is the thing. It's not easy to understand, and it's not meant to be easily understood, I think, for the most part. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But then again, any sort of bill is always written very, I won't say cryptically, but it's not for most people. Simply won't understand what the hell they're talking about. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Thank you for finding that, because Michael Geist is one of the sort of go-to people that people in this field sort of look at and hear what he has to say. Again, sometimes a little more on the alarmist side, but you need those people.
Correct.
You need those people. Because they may not get everything right, and it might be, they might overshoot on the alarm. But usually if they're ringing the bell, there's at least something there that needs to be looked at, or, needs to be circumscribed more tightly or something.
Well, and I think it's kind of his duty to be an alarmist.
Yep.
And raise the ire of the public. Is it always dead bang on? Not necessarily, but somebody like that is necessary in society to point out where our shortcomings, our oversight, our misgivings, things we just don't necessarily catch. And they can highlight that, point it out to you. Think of it like this, as abstract art. A lot of abstract art is they will see, say, for example, somebody's photograph, and they will paint a portrait of it, but it looks nothing like the photograph. It's like, well, I accentuated what I saw in the left eye and the right ear, and just went bananas. And you get a Picasso-like exaggeration of a human being, because they're accentuating. Well, sometimes you need to shine the spotlight on certain aspects of a bill. Maybe we don't necessarily understand it the way he would, and maybe he's not entirely 100% correct, But then again, he's very much necessary, and his job is important, and the alarm bell does need to be sounded.
Absolutely. It's one of those things like if you're in a boardroom and everybody agrees that something's a good idea, one person has to be tasked with being the devil's advocate and
Mhm.
saying, but what if, but what if? And like, or else you got a blind spot,
Correct.
right? So, yeah, uh, listen, uh, don't always agree sometimes, although I guess, but I'm glad he's there.
Mhm.
Very glad he's there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Other news, we talked to you the other day about uh, when it comes to Ontario and measles, about a premature baby who had been born with measles due to vertical transmission. Well, it seems, according to the Canadian press, that there's 6 infants born with congenital measles in Ontario from unvaccinated mothers so far, according to Ontario's chief medical officer. So since the outbreak began last fall, there have been 6, adding they were infected in the womb through mothers who were not vaccinated. Dr. Kieran Moore says these infants recovered, but their infections could have been prevented if their mothers had been vaccinated and protected from contracting measles. Congenital measles can result in severe complications, including inflammation of the brain and death. And as we mentioned, in southwestern Ontario, there was an infant born prematurely and infected with measles who died. Um,
Mother
Again,
was not vaccinated.
there could be a combination of factors, the
Mhm.
prematureness of the baby, along with nobody can say the child died of measles,
Mhm.
um, but it didn't help.
No. Well, let's check this video
Certainly.
clip here from CTV. I believe is this CFTO in Toronto? Either way, it's a CTV clip. Let's have a look at this.
Ontario health officials are sending out a warning to anyone planning to get pregnant about the importance of getting your measles vaccination.
It comes amid a measles outbreak in the province. And as CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, dozens of pregnant women have contracted the disease, with 6 babies getting the virus in the womb.
Ontario has had 39 people contract measles while pregnant, including 6 who were unvaccinated and passed the virus on to their unborn children.
So that means their mother would have had measles near the end of their pregnancy, and subsequently the virus can spread through the bloodstream to the womb, to the baby.
Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Kieran Moore, says women are especially vulnerable in their 3rd trimester.
In the 3rd trimester of pregnancy, the immune system is somewhat down-regulated, so that we don't reject the fetus, we don't reject based on blood type differentials, and that does predispose individuals in that 3rd trimester in particular to severe outcomes from respiratory infections. Hence the reason we want moms protected against COVID, influenza, pertussis, and obviously against measles as well.
Officials urge women to get vaccinated before getting pregnant, since pregnant women cannot receive the MMR vaccine because it contains a live virus.
There are a number of complications that can happen in pregnancy with measles. One is the baby can be born with a low birth weight as a result of had to fight the virus in the womb, and that's a significant complication. You can have premature delivery,
as was the case with a recent baby death due to measles and other complications. Measles in pregnancy can also result in miscarriage or stillbirth. If someone is unvaccinated and is exposed to measles while pregnant, antibodies from immunoglobulin, collected from blood donors, can offer some protection. Dr. Moore says the vast majority of in utero transmission of measles has been in the southwestern part of Ontario. Since the start of the outbreak last October, Ontario has seen more than 2,000 confirmed and probable cases of measles, but Ontario's top doctor says vaccination rates, particularly of school-aged children, have been good for most of the province. In Toronto, the grade 11 vaccination rate, students most affected by pandemic disruptions, is 87% now, an increase of 64% since the start of the school year.
when we look at exemptions in our school settings, that rate of exemption is roughly 2 to 3%. So almost 96, 97% of individuals still are getting protected, and that's why our schools are remaining so safe.
And for pregnant moms who are immunized, Dr. Moore says there's no need to worry. But with summer vacations and increased travel abroad just around the corner, health officials say we must remain vigilant. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Mm. And in addition, the National Advisory Committee on Immunization recommends unvaccinated pregnant people get one dose of intravenous immunoglobulin within 6 days if they are exposed to measles. So that would be what's there for you. But yes, definitely not the actual vaccine because it does contain live virus.
Mm.
And that could theoretically be transmitted vertically to the fetus as well. So, while protecting yourself, you don't want to inject live virus into you.
Well, it's very disturbing to me that this was something that had been eradicated in North America, and now it is back with a freaking vengeance because somebody believed some stupid thing they saw on social media.
Mhm.
And it's that reminds me of that political cartoon says, "Oh, look, honey, here. I found something that disproves every scientist on planet Earth. I found it on YouTube. It's a good video. You need to see this." No, no, you don't. No, you don't. You don't.
Yeah.
I saw a comedian yesterday talk about the flat earthers.
Yeah.
He says, every scientist on Earth denies what you're spouting. Every single one.
Yeah. So yeah, just there's that, and then there's the fact, of course, like during COVID, the regular sort of vaccinations that people get. A lot of people skip them, and I guess a lot of people may have just certainly thought, well, it's like nobody gets measles anyway, so
But
it's not an urgency, it's not a priority. Well, now it is. I mean,
it
and
is
I guess
now.
there must have been an element like that because I mean, if the vaccination rate has gone up 67% since the beginning of the school year, then it's probably just sort of like, well, yeah, I can do that tomorrow. It's not a big thing. Well,
Mhm.
turns out it is. That's why the herd immunity rates for vaccination rates are so high. Like, you don't have to worry about it if you happen to be one of the only few who haven't and everybody else has, and we have we do have herd immunity, but we don't have that right now. So now it is a concern. Yeah, exactly. All the usual tropes here. We have Greens here, Kit Green saying ignorant people,
On
trying to blame
social
the
media.
measles stuff on immigrants and stuff, and that's a go-to, right?
The problem
Uh,
with the MMR vaccine goes far back before social media. That moron doctor from the UK, Andrew, I don't recall what his name was, started this in the 90s. Yes. That paper was completely debunked by his entire peer group.
yeah.
As- I mean, come on. If you get your medical advice from your premier, like Daniel Smith saying, well, cancer, just don't have it, or how smoking cigarettes is, really not that bad for you, despite 60 plus years of medical information saying the exact opposite of that. There's no hope for people who want to believe things that feed their ego and feed their desire to be right, even when they are absolutely freaking wrong.
Yeah, that's
And this one from Jillian, sorry, it's
right.
anti-vax conspiracy are pushed by Russian disinformation campaigns. That is correct.
Yes,
That is correct.
absolutely. All right. Next thing that we have for you, little tidbits here. Another senator has crossed the floor
Mhm.
to the Conservative caucus.
I'm gonna
Senator
grab
Mary
a coffee
Jane.
while you talk about this. I'll be right back.
Okay. Senator Mary Jane McCallum of Manitoba is now part of the Conservative Senate caucus, making her the second senator appointed by former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to join the party this month. McCallum, who is Cree and a member of the Barren Lands First Nation, said she made the decision to join the Conservatives after consulting with chiefs and community leaders. She said, quote, I feel strongly that this is a crucial step in building bridges. Um, okay. If you've talked to your community and your community says that you should do that, then fine. For those who are um, wondering about this, however, this is a little similar to the other person who did it a couple of days ago, Mr. Richards. He has 6 months left to go in the Senate before he ages out. Mary Jane McCallum has 23 months left in the Senate before she ages out. So it's not exactly like conservatives are stocking up gains for the future here. Just saying. So I'm not sure what real difference any of this is going to make, but hey, it is happening. Yesterday, we talked to you, kids and cubs, about the prime minister going big on defense. And when I was presenting the subject, I had noted that there was only like a 5-minute thing, and then we got into some questions and answers, and there was some stuff that was there, but there wasn't a big presentation. And throughout the day, I kept on hearing stuff about the morning, like you said, in the morning. When you talked about sacrifice in the morning, and I think like, well, what did he say in the morning? So I went looking for it. Apparently, he delivered an address to the monk school, and in this particular address, there are certain things that he said later on that are in this, but there are a lot of things that he did not say in that question and answer period in that little 5 minutes that are in this one, and there are some moments in there that are very much uh, similar to the moment when he stood up during the campaign and he said, the age of deeper integration, whatnot, with the United States is over. It's like, oh, okay. So there were a couple of statements in this as well that had that, and I want to bring them to you because this gives you the fuller picture. Because yesterday was the Q&A, and just very briefly, but this here gives you a sense of how it is that the prime minister is seeing the world and seeing the chess pieces on the board being moved. And it really adds a lot of color and texture to the announcement and the why we are doing things. So, Mr. Grizzly, if you do happen to have it queued up.
I do. Just right here till I
right.
put it up on the screen.
So the first section of this ends with him making one of those statements that made everybody sit straight up yesterday. And I had heard the statement and I had seen stuff about it and I shared stuff about it. And I thought that it had come from the clip that I showed you yesterday. And it wasn't mentioned. I'm thinking, well, when did he say this? Was it just written? No, he said it out loud. But it was when he was talking to people at the monk school prior to having the Q&A session.
Okay,
So
well,
here
let's
we
go
go.
to the clip.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you for being here. Chief, Minister of Defense, colleagues. Janice, thank you for that introduction. Hopefully you got my version of it. We're able to read it out. It is a pleasure. There's no better place to have this announcement, this discussion, than the Monk School. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. This institution, over the course of the past 2 decades, faculty, students, graduates have helped shape Canada's domestic policies, our geopolitical strategies, and of course, beyond our shores as well. And we wanted to make this announcement here because your insights here at Monk have never been in more demand than at this hinge moment in our history. Threats from a more dangerous and divided world are unraveling the rules-based international order. An order that was fused by the settlements at the end of the Second World War and the end of the Cold War, an order on which Canada has relied for longer than many of our lifetimes. And while the consequences of these developments are profound, we have agency. We have agency in determining what comes next. Canada can work towards a new international set of partnerships that are more secure, prosperous, just, and free. We can pursue deeper alliances with stable democracies who share our interests, values, principles, and history. And we can help create a new era of integration between like-minded partners that maximizes mutual support over mutual dependency. A new system of cooperation that promotes greater resilience rather than merely a quest for greater efficiency. Now, we can aspire to such a world, but aspiration without effort is just empty rhetoric. If we want a better world, we will have to make difficult choices and work harder than we've had to in decades. Government must start by fulfilling its most fundamental role, which is to defend Canadians. And the primary focus of my remarks today will be the nature and scale of what that will require in this new age. But first, let me stress that there can be no true security without economic prosperity. And that's one of the many reasons why so much of the energies of Canada's new government is dedicated and will be dedicated to transforming our economy to become the strongest in the G7. Getting there will require doubling the rate of home building, creating one Canadian economy out of 13, realizing our full potential as an energy superpower, pursuing a host of other nation-building projects, and diversifying our international commercial relationships with reliable partners. None of these goals will come easily or quickly. All will require ambition, collaboration, and yes, on occasion, sacrifice. In a darker, more competitive world, Canadian leadership will be defined not just by the strength of our values, but also the value of our strength. A more confident, united Canada, a stronger Canada can help transform this age of disorder into an era of prosperity for all Canadians. And simply put, if we want a more reliable world, we need a stronger Canada. If Canada came of age at Vimy Ridge, we matured in the decades that followed D-Day.
Since the Second World War, Canada has asserted its independence. We forged our own identity and new alliances. Increasingly, we distanced ourselves from the United Kingdom and developed closer ties with the United States. We were by the side of the United States throughout the Cold War and in the decades that followed, when the United States played a predominant role on the world stage. Today, that predominance is a thing of the past.
With the fall of the Berlin Wall, the United States became the global hegemon. Its gravitational pull on Canada, always strong, became virtually irresistible and made the U.S. our closest ally and dominant trading partner. But now, the United States is beginning to monetize its hegemony, charging for access to its markets and reducing its relative contribution to our collective security. In parallel, the world's trade routes, allegiances, energy systems, and even intelligence itself are being rewired. Rising great powers are now in strategic competition with America. A new imperialism threatens. Middle powers must compete for interests and attention, knowing that if they're not at the table, they're on the menu. Indeed, the threats that Canada faces are multiplying.
Mr. Grizzly?
Hostile powers, including foreign governments and non.
Sorry about that. It was not at the point. You know,
Okay.
We were just getting to the edge of it.
Okay. Three things that hit boom, boom, boom. The United States is monetizing its hegemony.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge statement. That one went around the world. There is a new kind of imperialism. And if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Well, for those of you who don't, I've used the term, I know the meaning of it, but I needed to look it up so we could give you the textbook definition of hegemony. It's leadership or dominance, especially by one country or social group over others. So, as an example, Germany was united under Prussian hegemony until after 1871. There you go. Germany's forceful takeover of the region is an example of military hegemony. The Nazis came in with the tanks, planes, troops, and took over surrounding nation states. So there you go.
Basically, the world made it such made itself such that there was only one superpower.
Hmm.
And it seems that under the current president, the current administration, they're aware of it. And, well, we're the superpower. Let's start acting like one, I guess, in the sense of let's make everyone bend to our will, as opposed to let's do all that we can as the global superpower to protect our pack. That's a big shift.
Hmm.
Basically, it's a protection racket, right?
Basically.
Bob Ray, who's our permanent secretary, permanent representative to the United Nations, basically called the whole Golden Dome thing a protection racket.
Hmm.
It's like, hey, Canada, nice country you have there. Would be a shame if something happened to it, but for a $61 billion, we'll protect you, or you could just like cease being a country and join us. Then it'll be
It's just,
free.
just an insurance policy. You know, my guys will come down here, will take care of it. You can forget about it. Don't worry about it. Nobody will ever hassle you again. Forget about it.
You'll be cherished. Well, we see what cherish looks like with California right now.
Well, how many times have we said Trump's a wannabe mob boss?
Yeah, we seem to have a lot of them right now in politics.
Dougie Ford. Well,
Putin.
well, don't forget who Dougie Ford's best friends are, right?
I'm just...
Let's
So-
not play into the stereotypes, but they are all wealthy land developers, and they are all from a certain part of. It's a fact, though.
I know.
It's a fact. Sometimes you can say something without actually saying it, but
I
it's a
know.
fact. And we're not the only ones who've noticed this.
Yeah.
Many have.
But yeah, you have Cockpit Bob here. Sounds like a Cold War speech with the U.S.
Mm.
Yeah.
It does.
And Kit PNC Bio here. 1993 was the first use. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. I thought that's what you were looking at. Actually, is like where that expression came from was first used. Yeah. Those are some. That's in the first 5 minutes and 50 seconds, folks.
Yeah.
3 huge statements that will go around the world. So if people are wondering, turn around and says, well, gee, why is he moving so fast? Or, like you said, you weren't going to be like saying, well, it's 2%, so let's hit 2%. And, you're going to be motivated by targets. The sense of urgency here with which he's going after this. Those first 5 minutes and 49 seconds say why. Things are changing really fast. All right. Now he continues with going deeper into his view of how things have changed. And he ends it with a very, very important statement. Another one that, if not heard around the world, should definitely be heard from coast to coast, emphasizing to coast here as to why what we're doing in Ukraine matters.
Indeed, the threats that Canada faces are multiplying. Hostile powers, including foreign governments and non-state actors, are transcending geography to threaten our sovereignty. Terrorist entities have developed new capabilities and expanded their reach to challenge global security and put our communities at risk. Cyber attacks from the other side of the world can undermine our government, bankrupt our businesses, and paralyze our infrastructure. Et plus de leur capacité en ce qui a trait
In addition
à la cybersécurité,
to their cybersecurity capabilities, the traditional military capabilities of countries like China and Russia are also expanding. Unfortunately, we can no longer rely on our geographic positioning to protect Canadians in the face of these threats.
The Canada's geographic location will protect us is becoming increasingly archaic. Threats which felt far away and remote are now immediate and acute. And as our climate changes and the polar ice recedes, Canada's Arctic is becoming more accessible and more vulnerable to commercial and military activity. We've been jolted awake by new threats to our security and sovereignty, including from an emboldened Russia and an assertive China. Russia's barbaric invasion of Ukraine shattered previous assumptions of European post-Cold War security, leading to sharp reappraisals of the costs of collective responsibility and underscoring how precious and precarious are international law, sovereignty, territorial integrity, and human rights. Disregarding these principles would not only betray our values, but also imperil our nation. When we stand up for territorial integrity, whether it's in Ukraine or West Bank and Gaza, we are also standing up for the territorial integrity of the Canadian Arctic.
Boom. Why are we spending so much money in Ukraine? Why are we doing that? Why can't we spend more money at home? Shouldn't we deal with ourselves first? We are.
We are.
We are.
He's directly addressing it.
Territorial sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
The concept that you do not go in, march into another nation's borders and decide to start rearranging the furniture and redecorating is a pretty high principle. You got to defend that everywhere. It's not like Russia isn't a threat for us as well.
They very much are, and they want to undermine our democracy and have been doing so by spewing, Cold War, not even Cold War, but just talking points that would disrupt democracy. This is their plan, is to upend democracies around the world. This is what Putin wants. Putin couldn't be happier that Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America because he's a puppet. He's a narcissist. He's an idiot. I'm beginning to think he has dementia, or at least the signs thereof.
Yep.
It's a wet dream for a dictator. It literally is. And he is taking over the United States of America bit by bit by bit. And Canada thankfully made the correct choice this time out.
Yes.
I said it. I said Mark Carney is the man for the job right now. I might not like a lot of the things he's going to do, but I do think he is the right man for the job to steady the ship, keep our economy rolling forward, beef up our security, and take care of us. I think he's the right man for this job, and he seems to be proving it every day. Again, Bill C2 is, but I said, I'm not going to agree with everything. Some things I will take umbrage with. Some things he's going to piss me off about. Every prime minister has that because they have to govern for everybody, which means things will get done that I'm not going to like. But that's what living in a democracy is. Simple as that. I shudder to think of what situation we would be in right now if Pierre Poilièvre was prime minister. And I sincerely mean that. And Carney's been there, what, for 40 days? How long? April 28th?
Mm-hmm.
So a little over 35 days, 40 days, about 40 days, something like that.
Yep.
He's been prime minister for 40 days.
Yeah.
Since the election. So, he's getting a lot done in a very short time period and doing things that are necessary to protect our sovereignty and spending money in places where it needs to be spent. And that is going to beef up lives of millions of Canadians because that rising tide is going to lift all boats, even those of us who are floating in the channel, holding on to a piece of driftwood to keep our head above water. Maybe somebody will throw us a life preserver.
All right, let's continue. This part is similar to some of the things he said yesterday, because yesterday he had a little bit where he was talking about various things in which we were going to be investing with this $9.3 billion. He goes into a little more detail here. And we noted yesterday that a lot of this was like framed around helping the soldiers and focused on people. But if you're paying attention, there's a lot of next-gen sort of warfare stuff in this list as well. Mr. Grizzly.
10 years ago, Canada's defense spending fell to less than 1% of GDP. It has since doubled in cash terms, but it's still not close enough to face these mounting risks. The brave women and men who are protecting our sovereignty do not have the resources they need for a riskier world. Our military infrastructure and equipment have aged, hindering our military preparedness. I'll give an example or two. Only one of our 4 submarines is seaworthy. Less than half our maritime fleet and land vehicles are operational. More broadly, we're too reliant on the United States. And so for all those reasons, I'm announcing today that Canada will achieve NATO's 2% of GDP target this year, half a decade ahead of schedule. And we will further accelerate our investments in years to come, consistent with meeting these new security imperatives. We'll start by changing the way we support and invest in our armed forces. We will change the way we arm the men and women who serve, so we can fight on new battlegrounds in unfamiliar territory, so we can defend every inch of our sovereign territory, from seafloor to the Arctic to cyberspace, so we can protect Canadians, our interests, and our allies. Canada's new government will rebuild, reinvest, and rearm the Canadian Armed Forces with a strategy that rests on 4 pillars. Investing in the foundations of defense, the women and men who serve, and the equipment and infrastructure that they use. Second, we will enhance and expand our military capabilities. Third, we'll strengthen Canada's defense industry. And we will diversify Canada's defense partnerships. I call on all parties in Parliament to support these critical investments in our security and sovereignty. Our plan will help ensure that Canada is strong at home and reliable abroad. We will ensure that every dollar is invested wisely, including by prioritizing made-in-Canada manufacturing and supply chains. We should no longer send 3/4 of our defense capital spending to America. We will invest in new submarines, aircraft, ships, armed vehicles, and artillery, as well as new radar, drones, and sensors to monitor the seafloor and the Arctic.
We will repair and maintain our ships, our aircraft and infrastructure that for too long we allowed to rust and deteriorate. We will invest in satellite technology in order to detect and prevent threats for Canada and its allies.
We will ensure Canada's north is protected with a larger, sustained, year-round Canadian Armed Forces presence on land, sea, and air. We will expand the reach, security mandate, and the abilities of the Canadian Coast Guard and integrate it into our NATO defense capabilities to better secure our sovereignty and expand maritime surveillance. As part of our new strategic approach to defense and security, we will also establish Borealis, the Bureau of Research, Engineering, and Advanced Leadership in Innovation and Science. Borealis will advance cutting-edge research in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and other frontier technologies essential to safeguarding our sovereignty. Nous allons pallier le manque de personnel dans les forces armées.
We will alleviate the shortage of personnel in the Canadian Armed Forces by modernizing our recruitment process building new housing on our military bases, and improving access to health and child care services. We will give every member of our armed forces a well-deserved salary increase, which will also contribute to recruitment and retaining personnel. At this very time, the Canadian Armed Forces are fighting wildfires to protect our fellow Canadians and their communities. They defend our coastlines and our waters. They patrol the Arctic and support our allies on the borders of Russia. And they do all of that in difficult conditions and too often with inadequate equipment. They deserve better, and they will have better.
All right. So, laying it out there, and you could see, right, the whole Borealis section, which we had talked about before because he had actually announced Borealis a while back, I think probably even before the election, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't recall, but you could be correct on that.
Yeah, so building on that. When he's talking about all of this as well, just as a sort of aside, and we'll get back to that. But you have all the conservatives running around and talking about the lost decade and all of this, and he's talking about focusing on people and retention and all of that type of stuff. Well, according to Global News, and that came out yesterday, and this is by journalist Turia Izri, nearly 7,000 people joined Canada's military over the last year, exceeding Canadian Armed Forces recruitment goal and marking a 10-year high in enrollment.
So this is news to me because I keep hearing people screaming about how the numbers are down, recruiting numbers are way down.
Oh, they were.
People and
they were. They really were. But as you know, the federal government, Trudeau's government, had been working on this for a long time. This is joined last year when Trudeau was prime minister. So as they're talking about this lost decade, because the previous government did the things that were needed to be done in order to get recruitment up. Just note. More recruits are enlisting at a time of heightened focus on Canadian sovereignty and as Prime Minister Mark Carney vows to rebuild the military and reduce reliance on the United States. It's a sign of some progress in a recruitment crisis the previous defense minister described as a, quote, death spiral, but government officials acknowledge significant problems with retention remain. The Department of Defense released numbers to Global News on Monday showing that 6,706 recruits enrolled in the regular forces between April 1st, 2024 and March 31st, 2025, surpassing its target of 6,496. The figure represents a 55% increase from the previous year and a 10-year peak. That's how low it was.
Wow.
These milestones highlight the success of the Canadian Armed Forces' recent changes to recruitment process and commitment to building a more modern and effective military, Department spokesperson Derek Alma said in a statement. And again, remember who was the Minister for National Defense for a little while, Anita Anand, the person who gets shit done. Commander Pascal Bellemare, head of the military's personnel generation group, did not tie the spike to U.S. President Donald Trump's annexation rhetoric, telling Global News it's too early to know what's behind the renewed interest. He attributed the rise in applicants to modernization efforts and widening eligibility, but added that other factors could be at play, including economic uncertainty, advertising efforts, and a growing number of Canadians reflecting on who we are as a country. So there you go. After years of lagging behind its North Atlantic Treaty Organization allies, Carney pledged on Monday to meet NATO's 2% of GDP defense spending targets this fiscal year, half a decade ahead of schedule. And with all of this funding that is going there, who knows, maybe that will boost recruitment and retention even more. Charlotte Duval-Lantoine, a defense analyst with the Canadian Global Affairs Institute, said the latest recruitment numbers are, quote, encouraging and worth celebrating, but insists there are some caveats. Quote, 6,706 new members in the regular forces does not necessarily translate to 6,706 active members once fully trained, Duval-Lantoine said in an email to Global News. Quote, is that enrollment keeping pace with attrition? Basic training is one of the moments in military life that suffers the highest level of attrition. The Canadian Armed Forces is short roughly 14,000 personnel. The Department of National Defense's goal is to reach 71,500 regular force members and 30,000 reserve members in 2029. Government officials say they're confident they'll hit those targets this time around, citing growing excitement around Canada's increased military investment and what they refer to as changing demographics. The Canadian Armed Forces recently widened eligibility to include permanent residents and changed medical standards, allowing people with asthma, allergies, anxiety, and ADHD to apply. Quote, while we're seeing an improvement in numbers in the short term, whether it translates into readiness for the Canadian Armed Forces is a big question. So there you go. Good to see that the numbers are going up. The targets are ambitious, and this, hopefully, these announcements will help us to reach those. In the next section, do you have any thoughts on that, Mr. Weasley?
No, the only thought I have really is I'm going to reach out to Army Chris and see if we can get him to come on to give us some vibe and feedback and what he thinks about all of this. Because I'd love to get his opinion on, somebody who served in the theater of battle.
Right.
I'd like to get his opinion on this. See what he has to say. I'm sure he'd probably be supportive, but who knows? I can't speak for anybody else. But I'm going to reach out to him and say, listen, we want to do a show talking about all of these changes and see what he has to say about it. So stay tuned. I'll see what I can do.
All right. Let's continue where he talks about transatlantic security and a new defense policy.
In parallel, we are actively seeking to strengthen transatlantic security, particularly by becoming a participant in ReArm Europe. This will help diversify our military suppliers with reliable European partners and integrate the Canadian defense industry as full participants in 150 billion euros of Europe's rearmament program. To these ends, the Canada-EU summit later this month will be more important than ever. And Canada will arrive at this summit with a plan to lead, with new investments to build our strength in service of our values. This will include our support for a new NATO defense industrial pledge, which will be negotiated at the NATO summit. The Defense Industrial Pledge encompasses both assets and infrastructure that support our defense goals. Canada is confident that our economic strategy and our many strategic resources, from critical minerals to cyber, will make major contributions to NATO security. We will support tangible commitments from our allies to provide NATO with the necessary resolve to deter aggression and protect against all adversaries in all domains. Our fundamental goal in all of this is to protect Canadians, not to satisfy NATO accountants.
What will ensure our security and that of all the citizens of NATO countries is tangible progress and not a mathematical calculation. That is the approach that Canada will be advocating and the one we will present to our NATO allies later on this month.
We will undertake this transformation of our military capabilities strategically, deliberately, and impactfully. Canada's Department of National Defence will immediately design a new defence policy that reflects both today's and tomorrow's threats, informed by experts, some in this room, and the experience of allies and partners, including Ukraine. We're in the process of creating a new defense procurement agency that will be guided by that new defense industrial strategy and overseen by our newly appointed Secretary of State for Defense Procurement. The Defense Procurement Agency will centralize decision-making and move at pace to get our armed forces the equipment they need when they need it. We will ensure that Canadian workers and businesses benefit from the huge increase in defense procurement that will be required, using Canadian steel, Canadian aluminum, Canadian critical minerals, Canadian cyber. Nous allons renforcer nos capacités industrielles.
We will increase our industrial capabilities and give ourselves all the necessary tools to respond to our own defense needs and seize the associated opportunities. We will invest more in munitions, including those produced by a whole range of allies.
It will be challenging to protect.
So again, laying it out here, transatlantic, rearm Europe, new defense policy coming in, an office to ensure that the procurement takes place and it's dedicated to that hopefully will be properly staffed and resourced. Because getting the money out and getting the money out well is going to be a key component of this one. Right.
I really do want to hear from members of the CAF what their feelings are on this. And I'm sure many of them are like, finally, it's about bloody time. I'm sure many of them feel that way. I've no doubt. I do know that many of them, retired members, as well as current serving members, were relieved at the changes made by the previous Parliament.
Right.
As, you know, Rick Mercer went on several times saying, why does my friend have to keep reapplying for aid and insisting that his legs have not grown back after he lost them in Afghanistan? That was just the most and yet he had to do it every year.
Right.
That has changed.
Right.
A lot of things have changed. Offices reopened. Remember who closed a lot of those offices too?
Mm-hmm.
Aaron O'Toole, former conservative leader.
Yep.
Former military man.
Yep.
Basically, my opinion only, sold his soul for a few pieces of gold.
Mm.
Or silver, I guess, would be a more fitting 30 pieces of silver.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do have to go.
Okay.
As it is that time, and I have a very anxious puppy dog lying beside me on the ground, on the floor here, who really needs to go out. So thanks, everybody, for joining today. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you later today. I'm working on a couple of different things. Yesterday kind of went sideways on me. Sometimes that happens. You put plans together. Plans don't always work out, especially in such an elastic world that we currently live in. As things change from one minute to the next, sometimes you have to adapt on the fly, and what you had planned doesn't necessarily turn out the way you want it to. It's okay. We're still here. I'm not pushing up daisies, and I'm still breathing air. So every day above ground is a good day. And until tomorrow or later today, whichever the case may be for you, whenever you're watching, I'll see you later. Take care.
All right. Thank you, my friend. All right. To finish this little bit here from Prime Minister Carney, at the end of this, he talks about the imperatives of a changing world, but also the opportunity that it might present. So I have this for you here.
It will be challenging to protect.
Whoops. The speed is a little quickly. There we go.
Canada and Canadians against growing and changing threats, all while building a stronger Canadian economy. But these are the imperatives of a more dangerous world. And as His Majesty the King reminded us just 2 weeks ago, our greatest challenges present immense opportunities. To build the military we need, we can deploy and develop Canadian innovation, Canadian ingenuity, Canadian industry. The transformation of our military capabilities can help with the transformation of our economy. Today, national defense already accounts for over 275,000 direct and indirect jobs across the country in over 3,000 communities, every province, every territory. Our renewed commitment to defense will create tens of thousands of more fulfilling, high-paying careers for Canadian workers. It will create enormous opportunities for Canadian businesses, yes, in the defense sector, but across a link of supply chains. from the production of the raw materials, steel and aluminum, to the truckers and rail workers who ensure their transit, to those who transform those materials into equipment, weapons, ammunition, vehicles. It will help drive innovation in sectors including AI, quantum, and cyber. It will safeguard Canada, as well as our interests and allies abroad. It will build Canada strong. Nous allons assurer notre sécurité dans un
We
monde qui a
will
été
ensure our
profondément
security
transformé.
in a world that has
Nous
been
allons créer de
deeply
bonnes
transformed.
carrières et de la
We will
prospérité à
create good
travers le
careers and prosperity across Canada.
En ce faisant,
And in
nous
so
allons
doing,
protéger
we will
cette
also
prospérité,
protect that
protéger
prosperity,
notre qualité de
protect
vie
our
et
quality of
protéger
life,
notre façon
and protect our way of living.
Throughout Canada's history, there have been turning points where the world's fortunes were in the balance. That was the case at the start of the Second World War, just as it was at the end of the Cold War. And each time, Canada chose to step up, to assert ourselves as a free, sovereign, and ambitious nation, to lead on the path of democracy and freedom. And we are once again at such a hinge moment. Il est temps pour le Canada de tracer sa
It is
propre
time for
voie,
Canada
de
to
s'affirmer sur la
chart its
scène
own
internationale.
path and to assert itself
Il
on
est
the
temps de
international stage.
défendre nos valeurs
It is time to defend
avec
our
ceux
values
qui les partagent.
with those who share
Il
them.
est temps de partager avec le monde
It
une
is time
approche et
to
une
share
vision
with the
distincte.
world a distinctive approach
Now is
and
the time
vision.
to act with urgency, with force, with determination. As the world grows more dangerous, Canada will ensure our country is protected from coast to coast to coast, while creating higher paying jobs across the land. Canada will lead with the values the world respects, the resources the world wants, an economy that leads the G7. We will build a strong, secure, and sovereign future for all Canadians and for all time. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
So there you go, kids and cubs. You have the Prime Minister basically placing all of this in the context historically, right? We're at a hinge point similar to when World War I was declared and when there was the fall of the Berlin Wall. We need to adapt to changing realities. It's stuff that we've done before. This is not new to us, so we know that we are capable. We have done it before, but it's not going to be, a slow merge into the other lane. It's going to be a little, as we say in French, a coup de roue. There is going to be things that are jolted. There are things that are there. There is going to be some shocks. There is going to be, like I said, big heavy lift in a short amount of time. As you mentioned, there will be sacrifice as a result. There's going to be certain things. If we're doing this, there's other things that we cannot be doing because, as you mentioned, often you can't redistribute what you don't have. So there are, right? And that's going to mean a lot of people will be discontent in certain areas, other things that matter to them that won't be getting as much attention. Hopefully, because this is very interconnected into the overall economic policy and industrialization policy and everything that we need to do in terms of building and participating in rather major capital and infrastructure projects in order to be able to give ourselves the ability to do this trade with all our partners with whom we will diversify once we establish these agreements, right? It's going to be a big period in our history if we look back when we get to the other side of this, and then we start looking back when we did a lot, and the country, as you mentioned, once again found a way to reorganize itself in order to assert itself on the world stage. So this can be scary because it's a lot coming at you fast, and not all the details are there at the moment. Though those get filled in as time goes by and as we talk to leaders. So for some people, it can have a bit of a blank check feel. That's understandable. That's why there are concerns with stuff with Bill C2. There are concerns about this. Okay, well, where's the money going? How's it going to be spent? What does this all mean? Even with the budget stuff, which is, um, quickly becoming, where's the budget? The story that's most overblown this year. Um, but the importance of putting this in the context of a budget and what does this mean really does matter. Does matter. We don't need to know this now, but yes, the concept of not having a budget at all this year was not really going to be on, because we were wondering about that too. And hope gladly they've reversed themselves on that, because yes, if we're going to making that amount of change that quickly, we do need to see something in relatively short order, but we don't need to see something now while we're still putting the pieces together. But once a lot of the pieces are together, and I guess you want to take a look at what that looks like financially and what that means, and see, you know, if financially that takes a big hit, what else that means, where it is that we have to make other adjustments in order to accommodate for that, and then decide whether or not these are trade-offs we want to make. Right. So there's still a lot of work to do, um, but for anybody um, who has this concept of Canada as being slow moving, because that's a lot of rhetoric. Says, "Oh, Prime Minister Carney is going to have a rude awakening when he finds out." Um, he he is acting as the force that is pushing to try to do things still well, but could we maybe do them more efficiently? Is there a better way? Is there a faster way without losing quality? Um, every system has manners in which it can be improved, right? Because often policy happens that, there's a policy and then somebody sees a problem and there's another layer of policy and another layer of policy and another layer of policy. And then somebody forgets to do the work of going back down and saying, okay, well, now we have all these layers of policy. Is anything contradictory, or is there anything in a previous policy that's been altered or modified by new policy that now slows things down? Because we're doing things in two steps. Are there steps that can be merged? Are there, right? So you're looking for that type of stuff. So at some point you have to go back in, drill down to the beginning and say, okay, like, how do we redesign this? Because at some point there becomes too many layers of policy and it does slow things down. So, there's always some happy mediums there. But once we get done with that part, or say like the low hanging fruit, so to speak, then what becomes the issue? Right? Then you see what the real trade-offs and sacrifices are going to be. And then sometimes real discussion starts. So we're not quite there yet, but we're seeing those pieces. And that's a discussion that is definitely going to be to come. Yesterday, some of you in the chat, Kids and Cubs, directed us to a press conference that Pierre Poilièvre had responding to the defense spending hike. I am not going to show it here. However, I did watch it, and oh my God, did Pierre and James Bezan, who was with him, ever humiliate themselves during this event? Um, the things that were coming out of their mouth was really weird, and a lot of it was tone deaf here. Um, and both of them are again showing that there is no changing happening, no learning, no growing, and definitely no respect for the intelligence of Canadians. So Pierre Poilievre opened with his tired lost decade routine. As we mentioned yesterday, the lost decade was actually Harper's years, when spending dropped below 1%, and veterans and the one who were once a core community of the Conservatives were disrespected so badly that it was veterans who pleaded with Canadians to vote ABC. And this didn't start with Harper. It started in the Chrétien and Martin areas, when we were making cuts. to try to save the loony. So this goes back. There's been lots of years of neglect and cutting back and not fully investing. But the Harper government, there's this case of Harpernesia going on where Pierre and James Bezan want us to believe that things were just wonderful when they were in power, and they weren't. They were the ones that built on the cuts that were happening from the Martin Chrétien government and provided more cuts, right? This deep reliance on the United States that Pierre Poilièvre keeps on whining about, they helped create it with inaction. During that which ReRun calls the lost decade, the Trudeau Liberals doubled in dollars, as you heard Prime Minister Carney say, the amount of spending, and we were slated to reach 1.49% of GDP in fiscal 2025-2026, according to the Parliamentary Budget Officer. ReRun states that we need 4, not 2 icebreakers for the North, but later James Bezan suggests that icebreaking in the North by the Coast Guard would have no defense value, merely commercial, because he talks about icebreaking in the St. Lawrence Seaway, which I'm pretty sure we could use to help us militarily as well as being merely commercial and having no value. So they really can't agree amongst themselves here. ReRun makes a lame attempt for the alpha vote by saying the military needs to be refocused on a warrior culture, which is not a thing and not part of Canadian culture. Do we have an impressive military pass on the battlefield of which we're proud? Absolutely. But is that the thing with which we most identify as Canadians when we think of our military? No. Right? Our military learned on the battlefield that war is hell and is best to be avoided. Peacekeeping and peacemaking, which does involve combat, peacemaking, is our military culture, and we don't beat our chests. We have reverence, but we don't beat our chests. ReRun calls for the budget immediately, which is stupid because Canada will have more to say about what we do next after the big NATO meeting. He also calls to cut foreign aid, which again is stupid because that soft diplomacy is a core part of our strategy to prevent wars. We mentioned as well, right, raising our finally meeting the 0.7% of GDP directed to foreign aid to stop problems over there before they come over here, which is another target we pledged to meet but never have and probably should. Then ReRun shows the limits of not having seat tripping right over the first question in the Q&A session as to his awareness of what has been tabled or not with regards to estimates. Andrew Scheer should be doing this type of press conference, and Pierre should be knocking on doors in Battle River Crowfoot because he's really has no value added here. Then he gets a little creepy again with another female journalist suggesting that they too should go into a room to look at the main estimates. Clearly, he has not learned a thing from the cringy "tell me how big my was" moment from the campaign. A journalist says, "Oh, well, I guess we were both right about estimates and mains having been tabled. Maybe we should go look at the mains together." Ick, gross. On pipelines, he says that there's no no consensus is required, and says we need a pipe. That's right, because we need a pipe. Well, if we need one, honey boo boo, we had better not rely on you because conservatives have been rather impotent. Nobody has seen conservative lay pipe oil to Tidewater, not even an inch in about 50 years. Then he claims nothing has been done on that front in 10 years. And oh, there comes that sudden acute onset Harperism or Harpernesia again, because he had a front row seat over years to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau laying all the pipe he only wet dreams about 34 billion worth, if I remember, thanks to TMX. He refers to the Liberal cancellation and repurchase of the F-35 as a boondoggle, but forgets, that Harpernesia again, that the boondoggle part was the Conservatives, like the dumbasses they are, refusing to do the job right the first time by having sole-sourced the contract. Then Bezan bellies up to the mic and lies that creative accounting has been at play, which I'm sure will come as news to the Chief of Defense Staff, Carignan, who we showed you yesterday on Power and Politics, stating that all NATO countries have an arrangement and an agreement as to what can be counted in and out, and all follow the same procedure. He states that Coast Guard icebreakers operating in the St. Lawrence Seaway is merely for commercial traffic because magically it's no longer a waterway that can be used to help with any military purpose anymore. Fact is, right, whether in the North or St. Lawrence Seaway or anywhere, icebreaking capability helps both militarily and commercially. But Bezan would like you to believe that in the North it's military, but everywhere else it's not. And that's just dumb. He seems to mock the inclusion of veterans' pensions as NATO-eligible spending without recognizing that Canadians knowing for sure that the government will be there for them when they are veterans increases the odds of recruitment and retention. Again, this is dumb. And he also suggests that NATO-eligible spending coming from departments other than national defense are not really defense spending somehow, though NATO sure thinks it is. And all the member states do seem to think it is. And stating that if you discount all of that, well, then liberal spending is similar to the conservatives. But again, that's BS because spending on defense cannot be the same as the conservatives if you've actually doubled it. In real dollars, liberals doubled the spending. That so for what Bezan says to be true, also would have to be true, is that all of that, pretty much all of that spending would have had to been outside of the Department of National Defense, right? All the addition, the doubling of spending, the increase of less than 1% to 1.49, that would be all stuff that didn't happen within national defense, but there are ships being built and ice, right? So that cannot be true. It's ridiculous on its face. So from Bezan, as we mentioned yesterday, such lies in revision are particularly appalling because since 2011, practically without interruption, he has been in one way or another associated with the defense file. First as the chair of the Standing Committee on National Defense, then in 2013, he became the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of National Defense until the end of the Harper era. And since being in opposition in 2015, Bezan has served as the opposition critic for national defense for about 10 uninterrupted years. He is probably the parliamentarian who has spent the most time on the defense file, so there's absolutely no excuse for him to get this wrong, and yet he does. So this is a deliberate decision to misrepresent, and he should be raked over the coals back and forth for it. And finally, Michael Chong was there too, but nobody knows why. Because he didn't say anything. He didn't serve any other purpose other than set decoration and perhaps ensuring that the entire visual wasn't of only white men. But he said nothing and added no value. So this was a media opportunity that was a complete and utter waste of time. It was an exercise in gaslighting. And if there was any justice, a bill would be sent directly to the Conservative Party of Canada for all the taxpayer-funded expenses incurred to stage it because none of it was for the benefit of citizens or taxpayers. It was merely a self-aggrandizing exercise. It was not necessary. No value added and nothing helpful offered in it. Yesterday, as we mentioned, the Pride flag was raised on Parliament Hill. Some people here in the chat noticed that they forgot to unfurl the flag before they raised it, so we didn't get to see it swaying in the wind as elegantly as we would have liked in that instance. But I want to bring you two clips from this. One is from Knowledge Keeper, and I have to bring it a little bit after he came on stage because there were some audio issues. And then I want to bring you the words that Mark Carney said, because this is like two faces of Mark Carney. You had like that whole defense thing, I guess. And this is Prime Minister Mark Carney. If anybody in the rainbow community had a doubt that he was an ally, in those words, any doubt will be completely removed. As much as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was definitely in our camp and did a lot of good things for us as rainbow people, there was something in the words of Mark Carney when he was speaking yesterday that, as a rainbow person myself, actually made me well up. I found he spoke to me. I'm not sure how much play this got. I don't know how many people saw it. And there's probably for a lot of people, this sounds like nice words and stuff like that. But if you are a member of this community and have lived through a lot of things that we have lived through, remember, one of the reasons we are proud is because we just frickin' survived. Right? Being told every day that you are wrong somehow, defective somehow, and still managing to get through life relatively well adjusted and a happy with yourself and a contributing member of society, it's a big win. It's a huge win because a lot of us don't make it. A lot of us don't make it. So, as you can tell, I'm a little emotional. I want to show you first the Knowledge Keeper, Dylan Jenkins. He's two-spirited, and he has a teaching that he would like us to know about with regard to how would I say, living your authentic life. I think it's a concept that some people maybe don't understand when you are rainbow. Even today, in 2025, there is some kid somewhere in Canada who is realizing that they may be different. And it doesn't matter, even though we have all this stuff on TV and visibility and representation and rights like this, they still feel like they are the only ones. And they still wonder if they will be rejected. So get to a point where you can be honest about who it is you are, and walk in that and live in that is a huge personal journey. So a lot of people that are opposed to rights for rainbow people, I think, don't stop to ask themselves, what if you were forced every day of your life to wear a mask and pretend that you are not who you are in some way? And sometimes it's not big things. Sometimes it's just tiny little things like, hey, what did you do on the weekend? Oh, I hung out with friends. We had a good time. What kind of friends? What did you do? Was it just your friend, or was it your boyfriend or your girlfriend? All the little ways that we edit our lives and edit our stories. Right? Every time you do that, it's a little piece of yourself you cut off, right? Give me a fingertip. Give me a finger. Then the hand. Then the wrist. Then the arm. Before you know it, all of you is gone. So reclaiming that and owning it, and to be able to go through the world walking through that is it's a bigger fight than a lot of people maybe who don't have to go through that process realize. So this teaching really spoke to me, and I think it may speak to you too, even if you're not rainbow, because I think a lot of us in our lives sometimes are afraid or don't feel confident in bringing all of ourselves to the table. The entire beautiful mess that each one of us are to the table and allowing ourselves to shine. So kids and cubs, please enjoy this. I think I brought it in at the point where the sound issues kind of disappear, but there might be a little couple of things, but bear with it because this is really worth your time.
With everyone, and we do prep before we come here just like anyone else. We sit with our medicines and we listen. That's what our elders remind us, is to sit and listen, because the universe has a way of telling you and reminding you. And when I was sitting with my medicines, I was reminded. It's gonna fall off there. I was reminded of when Creator decided that it was time to make the humans. And he had already created all of the natural world, and this was his one last piece of art. And he summoned all of the animals, all the creatures came. And he said to them, I'm creating the humans, and I need some advice, because we always counsel. He said, I have a very special, sacred gift for the humans. Very powerful. But I don't want them to find it until they are ready. And so first the eagle spoke up and said, you know, Creator, I am going to take it, whatever this gift may be, and I will fly it above the treetops, and I will even take it to Grandmother Moon. And then Salmon spoke up, and Salmon said, actually, I'll take it, and I will swim it to the lakes and the oceans. I'll bury it deep like I do with my eggs. They won't find it there. And then Buffalo spoke up and said, well, you could give it to me. I will take it to the plains, and I will bring it out there, and I will bury it into the ground. They will never find it there. And then Bear said, hey, you know, Creator, maybe I'll take it, and I will take it to the forests, and I will hide it in the trees. They will never find it there. And Creator said, well, thank you. I appreciate your counsel. But they will find it. You see, because they are going to want to become like birds.
Sorry for that.
Testing. So they are going to want to become like birds. And they're going to fly into the heavens because they think that's where they're going to find it. And they'll even get to the moon. So that won't work. Well, what if... Well, no, it won't. No, we can't do the oceans because they want to become like fish. And they're going to go there and they're going to drill down as far as they possibly can because they think that is where they're going to find the truth. So no. And then Buffalo, no, they will go out to the plains and they will drill down. They will cut the skin of Mother Earth because they think that is where they're going to find it. And Bear, no. They're going to go into the forests. And they're going to cut down the trees. And you can't even give it to your brother, the white bear, up in the north, because they'll get up there too, and they'll think they're going to find it there, and they'll chase away the white bear. A very sacred bear, no. And then Grandmother Mole, who cannot see but has the gift of spiritual sight, had a very sacred relationship with Creator and said, Creator, what is this gift that you are talking about that is so powerful and so special? He said, Grandmother, it is truth. And she said, oh, well, you're going to have to put it inside of them. And only then, when they have the courage, when they get rid of the fear, will they then find it and be able to embrace that and walk in truth and walk in beauty. And today, we are here to honor the people of the rainbow who are a reminder of this. Because you see, they have embraced their truth. Regardless of the fear, through courage, to contribute in harmony and in balance. All the gifts of creation, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. It is all here. And our people of the rainbow, you are a reminder of our humanity. And you do not find division where there isn't any. You compose and you walk in truth. And today, we are going to honor a flag, the rainbow, that brings all people together between storms and the sun. And it is a spiritual pathway between the physical and to the spirit world. So I'm going to now call into the ancestors, yours and mine, and to invite them into this space. And so I ask you to open your hands and face them towards the sky. And I will call them in. And I ask you to open your heart. Because as a two-spirit person, I know that that is where my truth is.
we are, we are, hey, we are, hey, we are, hey, hey, we are, hey, hey, we are, hey, oh, 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 we are, hey, oh.
And so it is, and so it shall be. Aho, let's celebrate.
So yeah, I welled up again watching it, right? The truth is hidden inside you. The place some people never look for it. So, and then, him saying that, we rainbow people, that's their contribution to the world, is that they found that place inside of them, that they've admitted their truth. And despite everything that the world can throw at them, they go through the world walking in that truth. And when you do that, you're walking in beauty. Yeah. see, it gets cups. Now I'm crying. Now, if that wasn't powerful enough, Kits and Cubs, the Prime Minister then stood up to speak. And I did not know that this was going to happen at all. I didn't even know he was going to be there. So when I saw him standing there to the right, if you're looking on the screen of the podium, that was a sign that of all the things this man could be doing on that day, especially considering the overhaul of the nation that he's took upon himself, that he made time to be there is one thing. Now, in one way, it is not surprising. He does have a child who identifies as non-binary. But Rishi Valdez, right, was going to be there on behalf of cabinet to make an announcement. So I assumed when I read that he would not be there, like he would be involved in a meeting or somewhere else or preparing for QP or whatever. But he showed up. And then when they called him up because he was going to speak, I'm thinking, that was unexpected, definitely. And then I thought, okay, well, you're going to get the usual sort of platitude that you get from a leader. And that is not what happened in that moment. As with many things, and I think we might just need to get used to this from this prime minister, he brought more than just the basic statement. And he talked about the subject like he actually knew something about it. And as a Rainbow Canadian, I was very, 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 very proud to hear my prime minister speak to me. So, get some gubs. Sorry, these things mean a lot to communities. A lot of people look at them as symbolism. But they mean a lot. So, Kids and Cups, the Prime Minister of our nation, showing us that he is indeed an ally.
Merci beaucoup. Merci tout le monde. Merci Marie-Gabrielle. Thank you, Mark, for that incredible rendition of our national anthem, and Dylan for an extraordinary way to begin this gathering in the right way, under the flag of the rainbow and with truth inside of us being revealed. I'd like to celebrate all members of Parliament and their colleagues who are joining us today to celebrate Pride, to celebrate the diversity that makes Canada unique, that makes our country strong. Vois autant d'élus de différents partis rassemblés pour voir ce drapeau être porté par le vent. C'est un symbole fort.
To see everybody joined together to watch this rainbow, to watch this flag be raised, is a very strong symbol.
Un message d'unité en soutien des droits et libertés de chaque Canadien et Canadienne.
A message of liberty in support of the rights to freedom of every Canadian.
You know, our country, like the flag, is a mosaic. We're all different. We all have our distinctions. We're all Canadian. And one of our strengths of Canada is recognizing that people can be who they want to be, they can love whom they want to love, they can live where they want to live. The federal government, on whose seat we are the defender of those rights. We are the defender of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And as we gather today in a moment to raise a flag in recognition of those rights, it's more than 40 years since the Charter was first signed right here on Parliament Hill. We should recognize the progress that has been made, that is both powerful but also sometimes precarious. 22 years ago, on this very day, June 10th, 2003, the Ontario Court of Appeal issued a decision that immediately legalized equal marriage for same-sex couples in Ontario, a first for any province. Yeah. I remember that feeling on that day. And 20 years ago this month, the Parliament of Canada passed the Civil Marriage Act, making Canada one of the first countries in the world to recognize and make marriage equality the law of the land. We are the defenders of that. We are the defenders of that. Pride is a celebration of how far we have come. It's a celebration of how, in many important ways, love has already won. But pride is also a promise to ensure that justice, security, and dignity will always be demanded, defended, and delivered. Yeah. Pride is a promise. It is a promise to every young person, regardless of their identity, that they'll be able to walk through their school doors without being afraid of whether they can get safely through their day. It's a promise to every couple who wants to show affection, to be able to hold hands in public without looking over their shoulders. It's a promise to every Canadian that they will be respected, that their rights will be protected, that you will be safe in your own community and proud in your own skin. Ces engagements reflètent nos valeurs. Au Canada, chacun a sa place. Chacun est libre d'être soi-même. Lorsque chacun d'entre nous peut réaliser son plein potentiel, s'exprimer, contribuer à notre économie et à nos communautés, le Canada est plus fort.
Basically saying here, when everybody is free to be themselves, to express themselves, to contribute to the economy, Canada becomes stronger.
When we stand up for all the rights of all our fellow Canadians, we strengthen our own. In a time where, unfortunately, around the world, there's a backlash struggling against the progress that has been made. In this time, Canada will always stand up for the vulnerable and for the equal rights that we cherish. Yes, we can take pride in how far we've come, but we should also recognize that there is much more to do. Far too many Canadians continue to face hatred and discrimination because of just who they are and whom they love. And that's why Canada's new government is supporting Fierté Canada Pride, to ensure and help have successful and safe Pride celebrations across this land. Yeah. And we are making, and this is not, an announcement for today, it's an announcement for time. We're making funding permanent for the Two-Spirit LGBTQI plus Community Capacity Fund to support community organizations and protect our rights and advance equality across our country. Nous allons établir un nouveau programme de fécondation in vitro qui rendra ces traitements plus abordables.
He states here that he is going to fund an in vitro fertilization program to make that more accessible, and the laws around that will allow same-sex couples to apply for that. So, for example, for couples like me and my beaver sweetie who would like to have a child one day, this Prime Minister has just said that there will be funds to try to reduce the cost of that, so that we have a better chance of having our dream. He also mentioned that that funding for the Pride capacity building. This is a fund also that ensures that Pride organizations can take care and handle rising insurance costs and rising security costs that have become necessary because of what people are doing online to foment hate against us. That funding, which was announced by Prime Minister Trudeau, is now going to be permanent. An announcement for time, not just now. These, for our community, are extremely powerful words.
Nous allons également augmenter le financement du programme d'aide internationale qui, à travers le monde, permet de lutter contre la persécution des personnes qui ont des orientations sexuelles ou des identités de genre diverses.
He also states here that the federal government will be increasing the foreign aid envelope to help with persecution of rainbow people around the world on the basis not only of sexual orientation, but of gender identity as well. This is the first time I've heard anybody in this government talking about boosting the foreign aid budget in any way, shape, or form, where we have Pierre talking about cutting foreign aid. Again, we say on the show, right, one of the reasons we support Rainbow Railroad is because we're not safe anywhere unless we're safe everywhere. None of us are free until all of us are free. It's not about just our brothers and sisters here in Canada, but it's about our brothers and sisters abroad. It seems this Prime Minister recognizes that. Again, very, very powerful words for our community.
We stand up for rights around the world. Now, today marks the start of a series of events, marches, and celebrations. In Canada, will be strengthened by those events, by those celebrations, by the solidarity and courage that they sometimes have to represent. We will be strengthened by those acts. You know, Aristotle once taught that virtue is like a muscle that grows with exercise. We become just by doing just acts, brave by doing brave acts, empathetic when we show empathy. When we are kind, kindness grows. When we are Canadian, Canada grows. Pride is Canadian.
Okay. And that's when I started to lose it yesterday. Pride is Canadian. Justin Trudeau was the first prime minister, as prime minister, to march in a pride parade, to come into our house and march with us. But this prime minister is going beyond that and saying that our very existence is part of the core fabric. And that Canada, when he says that Canada can lead, it's going to lead around the world, even on this. Pride is Canadian. It's part of our values. For those who don't understand the difference between tolerance and acceptance, right? Oh yes, we tolerate. Tolerate was a word that was used, and a lot of people were trying to use it as, saying that there's a seat at the table. But when our community hears tolerance, we hear that you have a clothespin on your nose like this because there's an odor and there's a smell, but you're going to tolerate it. Acceptance is a different thing, right? If you ask people, would you prefer to be tolerated or accepted? Acceptance, obviously, is the goal. This man is preaching acceptance and stating that it is Canadian. Again, if you're on this side of the ledger, that is a extremely powerful statement. These are probably some of the most powerful words that have ever been said by a Prime Minister of Canada in favor of our community in history. I will let the Prime Minister here finish.
So let's celebrate Pride today, through this month, through every month, week, day, hour of the year, together for an even stronger and fairer Canada. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Oh, man. Got me even the second time. So yeah, not just the platitudes. He spoke for about 7 minutes. And again, had content and substance and content and substance. Thank you, Prime Minister. And there were MPs from every party there. So to all of you who showed up, thank you as well. But yeah, that's for our community, that was a big, big day. And I'm grateful, very grateful to Prime Minister Trudeau, because he did come into our home, and he also included our transgender brothers and sisters in the charter for protection. And this Prime Minister is building on that, and telling us that, as far as he's concerned, we always have a seat at the table, and not just Pride Month, every damn day. It doesn't. It it doesn't get more accepting than that. So thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you for leading by example. So as we said to Premier Wapkanu, who also included our transgender brothers and sisters in the provincial charter. Thank you for seeing us. Thank you for including us, and thank you for doing right by us. Wow. I guess, yeah. And also, since we're giving thanks, thank you to Pierre Elliott Trudeau, who back in 1969 said the state has no place in the bedrooms of the nation. 1969 being a very key year for the gay community because that was the year of the Stonewall riots as well in the United States, which is often seen as the moment when as a community we became a community. There were things before. There was the whole protests before with the Mattachine Society and everything like that. But Stonewall really marked the start. It's looked upon as that day. So here we are, 50 some years from Stonewall. And we have a prime minister talking again, one lifetime, within one lifetime. So much progress. But as you know, the most recently acquired gains are often the first things to go when things get hard or when people start struggling. So to have a prime minister that says that even though when he's talking about defense, we are entering a bit of a darker world, at least here, we are home. And it's nice to feel at home in your own country. It really is. Oh my God. Whew. Okay. Kids and cubs. Before we go, and thank you for indulging me on this. I know that this is not necessarily relevant or first issue that's top of mind to everybody who watches this show. So thank you for indulging me on this one for something that was important to me. I appreciate your time. All right, kids and cubs. There were other little things. There were other things that happened. Of course, yesterday the Auditor General had presented her report, as we said that she would, and she had also invited the Environment Commissioner, Jerry DeMarco, to present some findings of some audits that he had done as well with regard to sustainability. Given the compressed parliamentary calendar, they presented them both at the same time. Of course, the two main takeaways from the Auditor General portion has to do with the F-35s, stating that there were that the costs are much higher for some reasons that were beyond our control, such as changes in the value of the dollar and inflation and things of the like, and tariffs. Although that might not have been included in like the previous round, but things that were within our control, like for example, at the time that the budget or the figure was presented last time, there was more up-to-date data showing that prices had already increased, and that was not dealt with, and other things internally that can slow down and delay processes, and then make costs increase. For example, for some reason, nobody can explain to me why that is the case. For some reason, the hangars that we will need for the first F-35s that will be delivered are somehow not yet built. So, and seems they will not be built in time. Maybe there's a way that we can accelerate that they will, so that we would have to build some type of temporary hangar for them until the real ones are built. There are security things and whatnot, features that need to be put in. So it's not just as easy as just putting up a shed and stuffing a plane in it, right? There are other things that are required. But this adds to the costs, right? And that was something that could have been preventable with much better planning or a more efficient way to actually get these things built and approved. So it does open the door because as we mentioned, there's a certain portion of it that we can't get out of. We can't cancel the order for the things that are going to be immediately delivered or imminently delivered, allegedly, because we did participate in the whole program in terms of having some of the elements built here or created here, fabricated here, and all that type of stuff. So there's a certain number of them upon which we're going to take delivery, but for the rest of them, maybe it is a little better to diversify, and maybe we can get a better deal somewhere else. This type of report could open the door to a greater desire to do that and create a justification for it. So there might be some things to come out of there. And of course, with regard to GC strategies, she was looking at 4 things, but those were probably the 2 biggest things that had got the most headlines. Basically found that the government did not deliver value to taxpayers and that 3 federal departments disregarded federal policies and controls in awarding contracts for the development of the ArriveCan app. GC Strategies was granted the largest share of those contracts, and it lost its security status last year. And last week, the government banned it from federal contracts for 7 years over its conduct. On Tuesday, Hogan published a wider audit of 106 other contracts that were awarded to GC Strategies by 31 federal organizations between 2015 and 2024, and found in many of those cases the procurement rules were also not followed. Now, I'm not sure whether or not procurement rules were not followed specifically only for GC Strategies and were for others. I'm not sure if there's some type of comparative audit that's going to happen or look into, or whether or not this was there was just some general not being familiar with rules and processes across the board, because this seems to have happened in 31 federal organizations, and education about that and training about that needed to be shored up. It does not seem that she's recommended. She did not announce that she was sending the file over to law enforcement for them to look at it. So I'm guessing that from her assessment, it seems to be more of a competence and training and type issue than a criminality one. But still, the maximum value of those contracts altogether was more than $90 million. Only $65 million of those had been paid out at the time. So yeah, that was probably the big thing. Today, New Democrat leader Don Davies will join caucus colleagues Lori Idlett and Heather McPherson to highlight their party's response to the defense plan. That was scheduled for 9 a.m., so that's probably already happened. The Assembly of First Nations National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepinak teams up with BC First Nations Justice Council Chair Corey Wilson and Regional Chair Terry Tiji to formally release its National First Nations Justice Strategy. That will happen around 10 a.m. And later this morning, former New Democrat MP Charlie Angus will hit the West Block Press Theater to outline his thoughts on U.S. President Donald Trump's participation at the G7 meetings, which are set to get underway in Kananaskis, Alberta next week. That will happen around 10:30 a.m. And this morning, also, the Parliamentary Budget Office published a new report on the estimated costs and impact of, quote, introducing GST rebates for the first-time home buyers, and that has already happened. So that should probably be on the PBO's website. If these are issues that are of concern to you, you might want to look for more information on that. Those first 3 things, the press conference with the interim New Democrat leader, the availability with the Assembly of First Nations National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepinak, and Charlie Angus's statement, you'll probably be able to find video of all of that on the CPAC website if you are looking for it and want to know more what happened there. Okay, kids and cubs, I believe that is the end of our show. We thank you so much for listening to us, because we enjoyed making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless, so please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. Thank you for all of your help. Kids and cubs. I see her. Kid Saucy. I'm happy you are feeling seen, Mr. Beaver. There's a lot of noise trying to drag your community down, so it's nice to see something that uplifts rather than destroys. It really, really, really does. It really does. Like I said, thank you, kids and cubs, for indulging me there with that. All right. Kits and Cubs. If you would like to make sure that you do not miss an episode because you are a Canadian who is very engaged and on the go, you do not have to miss an episode because we're available in podcast format. And if you scan this QR code that's been made available by the Ray Girl, or go to podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. If you click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you, goes to your favorite podcast feed source. And if you happen to listen to us on podcast and you have the opportunity to give us stars and reviews, please do, because that helps us with the algorithm. If you would like to help us in other ways, kids Elaine and Cassie are certainly becking you to surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, the QR code of which has just appeared there. Scan that and we'll bring you right there. And if once you get there, if you can click on our buttons, like, share, and subscribe, that helps us with the algorithm as well. And it makes us very happy when you do. So thank you very much for that. If you would like to help us in yet other ways, Kits and Cubs, a donation to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund to help us with the costs that we incur to bring the show to you 5 days a week would be greatly appreciated. The QR code that just appeared will bring you there if you're watching live. And if you are listening, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word, is where you go. And if you can give an enthusiastic expression of encouragement for our show, that would be very, very appreciated. And of course, you'll be doing your part to keep your beaver moist. So thank you for all of your help with that. A lot of you have been very generous already, and we thank you so much. And we do have some people to thank, and we will. We haven't forgotten you, but thank you, everyone who has contributed and who will contribute. If you want to contribute by avoiding the CE Tech Bros to ensure that your transaction is Canadian, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address for a bank-to-bank transfer. And the bonus there is that we get 100% of your donation. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is also the address at which you can write us if you would like to talk to us about the show. Tell us what you like, what you would like to see more of, what we could do better, have some guest suggestions, all of that. If you have any questions for us about the show, how we put it together, or about politics in general and would like our take on things, please do send it. And we appreciate you communicating with us. We do love to hear from you. So thank you. If you want to communicate with us via our socials, at True Eager, at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, also on the Jitter, True North Eager Beaver at Facebook, our original home. And if you are listening on YouTube, either live with the Damn Fam or on your own time at your own convenience, if you leave a comment in the chat section, we will see it, because we do make an effort to read absolutely everything, even though we're not able to answer everyone. Thank you so very much for all that you do, your contributions, either financially or in terms of suggestions or commentary, all go back into the show and make it better. And we really appreciate when we get feedback. So thank you, because we know your time is precious. And when you take the time to do that, it means a lot to us. So thank you. Because democracy is something that you do, remember, if you're in the province of Quebec and you are registered to vote in the Liberal leadership race, you have until the 14th to do it, and the results will be revealed next month, July 14th. Also, if you are in Alberta, there are 3 by-elections going on, so please find out about your candidates, support the one that most corresponds to your values in any way, shape, or form, and of course, encourage all your friends and your peers to go vote, because democracy is something that you do. Words of wisdom, Kids and Cubs. Very simple. Just live your truth. Just live an authentic life. It can be hard, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. Kids, it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind too, and gentle with yourselves, and be kind to each other. All right, Kids and Cubs, audience participation. On the count of 3, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock. 1, 2, 3. Ah, I can actually hear the rainbow in all of your voices. I am more As your queen, happy to oblige. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Kids and cups, before we go, I just wanted to follow up on something I mentioned yesterday. The Bloc Québécois opposition motion is going to be voted on today, and I believe the Conservative one as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yesterday, I had expressed some skepticism about the Bloc Québécois motion. It had to do with carbon rebates and the additional carbon rebates that had been given to Canadians, and the Bloc Québécois wanting a share of it, even though they did not participate in the federal backstop because they had their own program. I didn't think that there was much of a case for it, but I listened to Christine Normandin, who I must absolutely commend for doing politics in a manner that is dignified, in a way that we would like to see, lay out her case. And it seems that it stems from the fact that carbon payments, the rebate payments, were anticipatory. So they were given to Canadians before the money was spent. And as an affordability measure, they kept an additional payment going or two with regard to that. And that is the part with which the Bloc Québécois objects, because it is money rebated to Canadians for carbon taxes that were not yet perceived. And therefore, that rebate is funded by all Canadians, including the Québécois, who are not getting a share of it, and therefore it is unjust. She has a point. I'm not sure whether or not the majority of the House will be moved, but she has a point, and she said, well, we have an opposition day, and we have all day to explain it to the Prime Minister, and hopefully he will be able to come around, and we'll see that it is essentially a fiscal measure that doesn't actually have to do with carbon tax, and it's basically a windfall for Canadians, and the Québécois are being excluded because they did the right thing and had their own system, and they've had it for a while. So it's like being doubly punished. She has a point. She has a point. All right, everyone, have a beaverific day.